The urgent call, the metallic clang echoed through the narrow corridor as Jake slammed his toolbox shut. The emergency call had come just minutes ago, and he barely had time to breathe before being dragged into this chaos. Pipes leaking again. The message said, simple but urgent, but this wasn't any ordinary pipe. And this wasn't any ordinary call. Jake found himself standing at the threshold of a small, dimly lit chamber aboard the Vespera, a ship unlike any he'd ever seen. Smooth walls pulsed faintly with soft blue light, and strange symbols lined the edges of the doorframe. The air smelled faintly sweet, almost like crushed flowers. Inside, a figure sat on the edge of a low bench. She looked human, almost. Her skin was pale, with a faint iridescent shimmer that caught the light oddly. Her eyes were large, deep pools of violet, filled with something intense and raw. She wore simple clothes, but they seemed woven from a fabric that subtly shifted. Colors. The alien girl looked up when Jake entered. Her lips parted slightly as if to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she pointed toward a wall panel where thin tubes twisted and coiled like veins through the ship's infrastructure. Jake's eyes traced the maze of pipes and valves. "It's the plumbing, huh?" he asked, stepping closer. "What's leaking?" Her hand moved slowly to her throat, then to her chest. A strange gesture. Jake frowned, confused. "You mean the pipes near your... here?" He pointed toward a strange, softly glowing tube, embedded just beneath the surface of her skin. Her eyes locked on his, urgent. Suddenly a shudder ran through her body. Her breathing quickened, shallow and sharp. The pipes on the wall started to hiss faintly. Jake froze. "Is that normal?" he asked. She shook her head, a small, desperate gesture. The hiss turned into a low rumble. Suddenly, the panel sparked, and a thin line of steam hissed from a tiny valve. Jake jumped back and grabbed his tools. "Hold on," he said quickly. "I'm going to fix this." But as he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a simple plumbing problem. The alien girl watched him, her eyes wild and flickering with pain. She moved suddenly, gripping her abdomen, and a strange sound escaped her. A soft, mournful hum, almost like a song. Jake's heart raced. He had no idea what was happening, but he knew he had to help. The pipes rattled violently. A strange glow burst from the wall panel, and Jake shielded his eyes. When he looked back, the alien girl was on the floor, trembling. "Are you okay?" he asked, dropping to his knees beside her. Her gaze lifted, desperate and pleading. Then she whispered one word: "Help." Jake nodded, swallowing his fear. Whatever this mating season was, it was unlike anything he'd faced. And now he was caught in the middle of it. Jake had been a repair technician for years. He'd fixed leaks in Earth's most complicated systems, from skyscraper waterworks to underground tunnels. But nothing like this. The Vespera wasn't just a ship. It was a living entity, part machine, part organism. The pipes were veins, carrying strange fluids, sometimes glowing, sometimes pulsing. Fixing them wasn't just about tools and wrenches. It was about understanding life, biology, and technology in ways Jake never expected. He wiped sweat from his brow as he crouched by the panel again. The alien girl sat up slowly, clutching a small device shaped like a flower. She handed it to him. Jake took it, confused. It blinked once, then projected a hologram, a series of twisting, glowing patterns that looked like a heartbeat. The alien girl's voice was soft, but urgent, as she explained with gestures. The pipes, her body, the season. Jake listened carefully. Her mating season was a biological cycle that affected the entire ship. And her. When the pipes leaked, it was like her body was crying out. He realized then that fixing the leak wasn't just plumbing. It was helping a living being in pain. A sudden bang echoed from deeper in the ship. Jake looked up sharply. The alien girl's eyes widened. "Danger," she said. The pipes rattled again. Jake grabbed his tools and followed her lead deeper into the ship's twisting corridors. Every step felt heavier, the air thick with tension. The alien girl's breathing grew erratic. He realized this was more than just a repair job. It was survival, and the truth behind her mating season was far stranger and darker than he could imagine. As Jake worked feverishly, trying to steady the strange systems, he glanced at the alien girl. She looked vulnerable, yet fierce. There was a story here, one that went beyond pipes and machines, something ancient and powerful. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The ship shuddered. Jake's heart pounded. He barely caught the alien girl as she collapsed. Her body glowed faintly in the dim light. She whispered again, "Help me, before it's too late." Jake's hands trembled. The mystery of the Vespera and her strange mating season had just begun, and there was no turning back. End of Part 1. Strange symptoms. Jake didn't know what hit him first. The weight of the alien girl's sudden collapse, or the blinding glow radiating faintly from her skin. His hands shook as he lowered her gently to the floor of the softly humming chamber. Her violet eyes fluttered open, confused and wild with pain. "I'm here," Jake said softly, trying to calm the storm raging in her gaze. Her breathing was shallow but steady, punctuated by occasional gasps. The strange tubes embedded beneath her skin pulsed rhythmically, as if syncing with a heartbeat he couldn't hear. Jake glanced back at the control panel he'd been trying to fix. It had stabilized for now, but the system was far from normal. Pipes hummed like living veins, and fluids of shifting colors pulsed through the transparent tubes. "This ship, it's alive," Jake whispered, more to himself than her. The alien girl's lips parted, and she made a soft sound, a melodic hum that seemed almost like a language. Jake wished he understood what she was trying to say. After a moment, she managed to point at her chest again, then to the pipes. Jake's heart tightened. Whatever was going on inside her body was connected to this ship's fragile systems. Over the next hours, Jake stayed by her side, working methodically to understand the strange plumbing. The leak he'd been called to fix was only the start. Now the ship's entire life support system seemed entangled with the alien's health. Every time she twitched or shuddered, the pipes rattled and strange energy flickered in the dim corridors. Jake had seen humans in pain before, but this was different. The alien girl's suffering was almost primal, raw in a way he couldn't fully grasp. The ship's soft hum turned jagged, warning signals blinking faintly on the panels. Suddenly, the alien girl gasped and grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. Her eyes locked on his. "They're coming," she whispered, voice trembling. Jake's mind raced. "Who's coming?" he asked. She shook her head, fear evident in her glowing eyes. He wished he knew more. The hours blurred as Jake tried to fix the increasingly fragile system. Every attempt to repair the pipes was met with unexpected consequences. One moment, a valve would seal tight, and the next, a burst of strange, shimmering liquid leaked out, coating the walls. Jake's hands were stained with the glowing fluid. But it didn't burn or harm him. It felt alive, like it was watching him. He glanced at the alien girl again. Her skin was growing more iridescent, shimmering with an inner light. The pulses beneath her skin quickened, and her breathing became shallow, almost frantic. Jake remembered the device she'd given him, the small flower-shaped gadget projecting the heartbeat hologram. He brought it close to her chest. The hologram pulsed violently, colors shifting rapidly from blue to red. Jake frowned. This was no ordinary medical readout. It was a warning. He had to act fast. The alien girl's mood shifted suddenly. From quiet and fragile, she became restless, pacing the small room. Her eyes darted nervously. Jake's instincts told him something was wrong. Her mating season was not just a biological cycle, it was a crisis. Jake thought back to the phrase she'd whispered before collapsing. "Help me before it's too late." He felt the pressure mounting. The ship's system started to fail in small ways. Lights flickered, air circulation slowed. Jake knew the danger was growing. Late into the night, the alien girl collapsed again, this time clutching her stomach. Her body trembled violently. Jake rushed to her side. The humming sounds she made now felt like a painful chant. He held her hand, trying to offer comfort. Suddenly, a violent shudder passed through the ship. Warning alarms blared, the pipes rattled dangerously. A section of the wall panel exploded outward in a burst of steam and sparks. Jake shielded the alien girl from flying debris. As the chaos settled, he looked down at her pale, glowing face. Her eyes met his, wide with terror. "This is worse than I thought," Jake muttered. In the silence that followed, the alien girl managed to speak again, this time clearer, more urgent. "You don't understand," she said slowly, voice strained. "My mating season. It affects the entire ship. If not controlled, it could destroy us all." Jake's mind reeled. Destroy the ship? Destroy them? The fragile balance between biology and machinery was unraveling. He needed answers. Determined to help, Jake pushed further into the ship's labyrinthine corridors. Following the alien girl's weak guidance, they arrived at a massive chamber deep inside the vessel. Inside, giant crystalline structures pulsed with strange energy, connected by thousands of thin tubes flowing like veins. The alien girl collapsed. Near the largest crystal, gasping, Jake knelt beside her, watching as the crystal's glow intensified. She explained in slow, broken phrases that the crystal was a central node regulating her mating cycle and the ship's life systems. If it failed, both she and the ship would perish. Jake realized that fixing pipes wasn't enough. He had to understand this living machine. As he studied the complex network, Jake noticed irregularities. Some tubes were clogged or leaking strange fluids. Others vibrated violently, threatening to rupture. He had to act fast, carefully. He adjusted valves, redirected flow, and patched leaks with the tools and materials he had. Each fix seemed to ease the alien girl's pain slightly. Her breathing steadied. Her eyes shone with hope. But the crisis was far from over. Suddenly, the door hissed open. A shadowy figure stepped. Inside, Jake froze. It was another alien, but different, bigger, more armored and serious. The newcomer's eyes flicked between Jake and the alien girl. "Status report," the newcomer demanded in a strange accent. The alien girl struggled to speak but managed. "Mating season. Unstable. Help needed." The newcomer's gaze hardened. Jake felt the tension rise. Who was this stranger? An ally or a threat? The newcomer studied the systems with cold efficiency. "This is critical," they said. "If this cycle fails, the ship's core will destabilize." Jake looked at the alien girl. She nodded weakly. "We must find a solution." The three of them worked together through the night. Jake learned fragments about the alien biology, a cycle that was vital to their survival, but volatile and dangerous. The alien girl's mating season wasn't just about reproduction. It was a transformation, physically and mentally, that shaped her species' future. But the cycle was unpredictable. As dawn approached, Jake felt exhausted but more determined than ever. He realized the stakes. If he failed, the ship and its passengers would be lost. If he succeeded, he would change the fate of an alien species, and maybe humanity's understanding of life itself. The alien girl looked at him with gratitude. "You are different," she said. Jake smiled tiredly, just trying to help. Suddenly the ship shook violently. The systems went dark for a moment. Warning alarms blared again. Jake's heart pounded. "This isn't over," he said. The mystery of the mating season was deepening, and Jake was right in the middle, the hidden threat. The sudden jolt shook the Vespera from stem to stern, the ship groaning as if it were alive and in pain. Jake stumbled but kept his balance, eyes darting to the alien girl and the stranger who had appeared only hours before. The larger alien, who introduced himself simply as Kale, moved with calm urgency, his gaze sharp as he assessed the flickering control panels. Core instability increasing, Kyle said grimly. If the mating cycle isn't stabilized soon, the entire ship could be lost. Jake swallowed hard. He had never faced a threat like this, not just broken pipes or faulty wiring, but something biological and mechanical intertwined with consequences that felt cosmic. He looked at the alien girl, her pale, iridescent skin now glowing faintly in the dim light, but her violet eyes seemed distant, haunted. What exactly causes this instability? Jake asked, hoping for answers that made sense. Kale gestured toward the pulsating, crystalline core in the chamber. This crystal is the heart of the Vespera, he explained. It regulates the bioenergetic flow throughout the ship, feeding, supporting, even regulating the reproductive cycle of our species. The alien girl added weakly, during mating season, the energy demands spike. The crystal strains. Jake nodded slowly, picturing a delicate machine forced to run beyond its limits. And the leak? He asked. How does that fit in? Kyle's eyes darkened. The leak is a symptom, not the cause. The true threat is something deeper, hidden. Jake's pulse quickened. Hidden? What? Kale hesitated, then said, There's an infection. The word struck Jake like a thunderclap. Infection on a spaceship, something biological. He watched the alien girl wince, clutching her side. She looked fragile, but inside he sensed a fierce battle raging. Kyle explained that the Vespera had been exposed to a microscopic pathogen during its last stop on a remote planet. It had infiltrated the ship's life support systems, mingling with the bioenergetic flow of the crystal core. It disrupts the energy, Kyle said, causes the system to falter. The alien's mating cycle is accelerating the problem, overloading the core with unstable energy. Jake's mind raced. The infection wasn't just a medical problem. It was threatening the entire ship and everyone aboard. How do we stop it? Jake asked urgently. Kyle shook his head. We don't know. Yet the pathogen is unlike anything we've seen. It adapts quickly. Suddenly, the alien girl groaned and convulsed violently. Jake rushed to her side. Her skin shimmered wildly, shifting through colors as if her body was fighting a battle of its own. Her breathing became ragged, the hum she made turning into a sharp, pained cry. Jake gripped her hand tightly. We'll fix this, he whispered, though fear gnawed at his words. Kyle moved to the control panel, analyzing streams of data. We need to isolate the infection within the crystal core, Kyle said. Voice tense, but how? Jake asked. Kale gestured toward the crystalline structures. If we can recalibrate the energy flow, it might starve the infection. Jake nodded. Sounds risky. Kale smiled grimly. Everything is. Together, they set to work. Jake studied the ship's controls, learning to interpret alien technology as Kale directed him. The alien girl lay on a soft bed nearby, her body flickering with strange light, each pulse synced to the ship's rhythms. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by alarms and the occasional shudder of the ship. Finally, they adjusted the flow valves, redirecting bioenergetic streams away from infected areas. For a moment, the ship seemed to hold its breath. Then, the lights steadied. The alien girl's breathing slowed, her skin losing its fevered glow. Jake allowed himself a small sigh of relief. But it was short-lived. Suddenly, the core's crystal flared violently, sending shockwaves through the chamber. The ship trembled. The alien girl screamed, convulsing uncontrollably. Jake barely caught her as she collapsed. Kyle's expression darkened. The infection is fighting back. Jake's heart pounded. They were in a war against an invisible enemy, inside the very heart of the ship. Over the next day, Jake's understanding deepened. He watched the alien girl endure waves of pain and transformation, her body shifting as the infection pushed through her mating cycle. Her species' biology wasn't just physical, it was psychic. Jake saw glimpses of memories flicker in her eyes, images of vast, alien landscapes, strange creatures, and emotions that transcended language. He felt a strange empathy growing, as if their fates were bound together. Kyle shared more about the mating cycle. "It's a time of creation and destruction," Kyle said. "Life forces surge and threaten to overwhelm control systems." Jake nodded, understanding the metaphor and the reality. "This is more than biology," Jake said quietly. "It's survival." Kyle smiled faintly. "And hope." But the infection was relentless. Jake noticed a pattern. When the alien girl's pain peaked, the ship's systems faltered most. He began to suspect the pathogen was linked not just to the physical crystal, but to the alien's psychic state. If her emotions spiraled, the infection grew stronger. Jake's role was evolving, from technician to healer, a bridge between two worlds. One night, Jake found the alien girl awake, staring at the crystalline core. "You're not human," she said softly. Jake smiled, tiredly. "Neither are you," she laughed weakly. "My people depend on this ship, on me." Jake reached out. "You're not alone." She looked at him, eyes shining with hope and fear. "Help me save us." The following hours were tense. Jake and Kale worked feverishly to develop a new plan. They would attempt a risky procedure, using the ship's bioenergetic flow to purge the infection from the core, synchronized with the alien girl's mating cycle. Jake knew failure meant death for them all, but hope burned bright. As dawn approached, the alien girl's condition worsened. She cried out in pain, body glowing with otherworldly light. Jake held her hand, his heart breaking for her suffering. "We're almost there," he promised. Her eyes met his. "Don't give up." Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently. A deep rumble echoed through the corridors. The infection was fighting back harder than ever. Jake knew the final battle was at hand. He steeled himself for the alien girl, for the Vespera, for humanity. The risky procedure. The rumbling shook Jake to his core, the Vespera groaning like a wounded beast. Sparks flew from damaged panels, and the lights flickered dangerously. Kale's voice was steady but urgent. "We have to begin the purge now. It's the only way to save the core. And her." Jake swallowed hard, looking at the alien girl. Her skin pulsed in waves of iridescent light, and her breathing was shallow but steady. The mating cycle was reaching its peak, and the infection was feeding off her energy. "This will hurt," Jake said softly, kneeling beside her. She smiled faintly. "I trust you." Kale guided Jake to the control console that regulated the ship's bioenergetic flow. "This interface will allow you to synchronize the purge with her mating cycle," Kale explained. Jake reached out, his fingers trembling as he touched the glowing controls. Data streamed before his eyes. Complex, alien symbols, fluctuating energy readings, and a live feed of the crystal core's status. He had no idea if he was doing the right thing, but he had to try. The alien girl's body trembled violently as the process began. Jake watched the crystal core on the monitor pulse rapidly. Energy. Waves flowing through the ship's veins, Kyle explained. "The purge will force the infection out, but it will also drain her life force. She may not survive." Jake's heart clenched, but there was no other choice. Minutes stretched into hours. Jake adjusted valves, monitored energy flows, and watched as the alien girl's glow faded and brightened in cycles. Her breathing grew weaker. The ship's systems stabilized, then faltered, then steadied again. Jake felt helpless but focused. This was a battle of wills and energy. Suddenly, alarms blared. The core's crystal flared violently, brighter than before. Jake's fingers flew over the controls. Trying to stabilize the surge, the alien girl screamed, light bursting from her in waves that washed over the chamber. Jake felt the energy pulse through him, cold and burning at once. Then, silence. The crystal core dimmed to a steady, soft glow. The alien girl lay still. Jake held his breath. Kyle stepped forward cautiously, checking her vital signs. "She's alive," Kyle said, relief clear in his voice. Jake exhaled. The infection was gone, but the victory was fragile. The alien girl's body was weak, her skin pale and translucent. Jake helped her sit up, offering water and comfort. She smiled faintly. "Thank you," she whispered. As the Vespera hummed with renewed life, Jake felt a deep connection to the alien girl and her people. He had crossed a boundary, not just fixing pipes, but bridging worlds. Kyle nodded solemnly. "We owe you our survival." Jake knew the danger wasn't over. The mating cycle was unpredictable, and the ship was still vulnerable. But hope had returned. Suddenly, a faint signal echoed through the ship's comm system, a message in an alien language, urgent and unclear. Kyle's eyes widened. "They're coming!" Jake's heart pounded. The real threat was just beginning. The approaching danger, the signal echoed through the Vespera's corridors, a harsh, urgent pulse that set Jake's nerves on edge. It was unlike any communication he had ever heard, filled with a strange urgency that reverberated through the ship's very walls. Kyle's face was grim. "This signal, it's a warning. Something or someone is heading this way." Jake swallowed hard, the weight of the unknown pressing down on him. "We barely survived the infection," Jake said, voice low. "What now?" Kyle's eyes met his. "Now we prepare, because this threat is unlike anything before." The alien girl, still fragile but recovering, looked at Jake. "They want to claim the Vespera, or destroy it." Jake frowned. "Who? Why?" She shook her head weakly. "We don't know. But they fear what this ship carries, the life inside, the future." Jake's mind raced. The Vespera wasn't just a ship. It was a cradle for an entire species' survival. And now, it was a beacon, attracting danger. Kyle gathered the ship's few remaining crew in the central chamber. "We must fortify the ship's defenses," he said, "and protect the alien girl. She's key to the ship's survival." Jake looked around at the anxious faces, humans and aliens alike. They had survived impossible odds before. Now they faced something even darker. Jake and Kale worked together, repairing damaged systems, reinforcing energy shields, and preparing emergency protocols. Jake marveled at the alien technology, blending biology and mechanics in ways he could barely comprehend. The alien girl rested, her body slowly regaining strength, but Jake sensed her mind was elsewhere, focused on what was coming. Hours later, the ship's sensors detected a fleet of ships approaching. Their shapes were sleek and menacing, their intentions clear. "Here," Kyle said. Panic rippled through the crew. Jake felt a surge of determination. He wasn't just a repairman now, he was part of this fight. Together, they prepared for the unknown, ready to face whatever came next. Survival and hope. The Vespera shuddered under the looming presence of the approaching fleet. Red emergency lights bathed the corridors as the crew readied themselves for what could be the final battle. Jake stood beside Kyle and the alien girl, his heart pounding with equal parts fear and determination. The alien girl's eyes, once dim with exhaustion, now burned with fierce resolve. "We are not just fighting for the ship," she said, voice steady despite her frailty. "We fight for our future, for life itself." As the hostile ships closed in, the Vespera activated its shields. The glowing crystal core pulsed rhythmically, stabilized now but still fragile. The lifeblood of the ship and its passengers. Jake manned the control panel, assisting Cale in coordinating the ship's defenses. The technology was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Bioorganic weapons, energy barriers that shifted and flowed like living things. Suddenly, the enemy fleet launched an attack. Energy blasts rained down, striking the shield with explosive force. The Vespera shook violently, alarms blaring, systems flickering. Jake's hands moved quickly over the controls, rerouting power, repairing damage as best he could. Kyle's voice cut through the chaos. "Focus on the core. We cannot let it fall." The alien girl, despite her weakened state, stepped forward. She placed her hand on the crystal core, eyes closing as she connected mentally with it. Jake watched in awe as a brilliant wave of energy surged outward, reinforcing the shield and repelling the attackers. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Each time the enemy pushed harder, the alien girl and Cale found ways to adapt, using the ship's living technology to their advantage. Jake felt something stirring inside him, a fierce pride in their resilience and unity. Finally, the enemy fleet began to retreat. The Vespera was battered but alive. The crew erupted in cheers, but Jake knew the fight had changed them all. After the battle, Jake sat with the alien girl. "Why did they attack?" he asked. She sighed. "They fear what we represent. The power to create life, to survive against all odds." Jake nodded thoughtfully. Cale joined them. "This ship is more than metal and crystal. It's hope. For us, for your world, for all who face extinction." The alien girl smiled faintly. "And humanity, you helped us more than you know." Jake felt a deep connection, not just to her, but to the unknown universe and its endless possibilities. As the Vespera continued its journey, Jake realized the true lesson of their ordeal. It wasn't just about survival. It was about connection between species, between worlds. It was about hope and the courage to face the unknown. The alien girl stood beside Jake on the observation deck, watching the stars streak by. "Thank you," she said softly. Jake smiled. "No, thank you for trusting me." She looked up, eyes filled with promise. "The future is ours to shape." And with that, the Vespera sailed onward into the vast, mysterious cosmos, carrying the fragile spark of life and the enduring spirit of hope. The end.